Titans and Texans. A game took place there. It was 26-0. The Texans blew out the Titans. There's a couple thoughts from this game, but I'm going to underline it with this because I think this is what a majority of the people listening to this podcast care about. Does Brian Callahan make it to Halloween at this point?
So I think that's a fair question. And I think it's about more than losing. It's about the way the team looked. I think really that's going to come down to the pulse in the locker room. And I think it's like, has that become a bad environment for your young players, most especially Cam Ward, right? I almost said Cam Ward. I think listening to Ward talk yesterday was interesting, and I'm sure you heard it, the "we asked" thing, which I think is going to wind up on a T-shirt now. I just look at this organization, and it's hard to point anywhere else but right at Amy Adams Strunk.
Sure,
for the amount of just completely reactionary decisions. Over and over and over again. They fired John Robinson on the way back. I think it was from a Thursday night game, right? At Lambeau in November of, 22. So they fire John Robinson. January of 23, they hire Ran Carthon as their general manager after she had met Ran at the accelerator, right? It was basically based on that interaction. So now Ran's the general manager and Mike Vrabel is the head coach. They give Vrabel all the power. Then after a year of that, she decides she doesn't like the atmosphere in the building, and she feels like it needs to be reset. So she fires Vrabel, who had been a very successful head coach there, after firing the general manager. It's probably about 14 months apart, who had been a very successful general manager there. And she brings in Brian Callahan. She demotes Ran Carthon at that point, right? Or a year later, she demotes Ran Carthon, elevates Chad Brinker. Or no, now I got to get this in my head. She doesn't demote him, but she elevates Chad Brinker at that point to president of football operations. Then a year later, she fires Ran Carthon and brings in Mike Borgonzi. So I can't even keep all of this straight.
Yeah.
But it's this rearranging of deck chairs, and this was going into this year. It's like, okay, we finally have everything aligned. We have our young offensive minded head coach. We have our general manager who we're able to pry from Kansas City. We have our president of football ops who's going to oversee the whole thing and make sure everything's aligned and turn us into a more forward thinking organization. And all of this stuff is all set up. And now you're going to fire the coach a month in?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
Is it best for Cam Ward at this point? Because
that's the question you got to ask. But at what point does this end? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just feel like
I just don't know. And again, I'm not saying Brian Callahan is necessarily the right guy for the job. But he's a young head coach, and he is 21 games in now?
With the worst winning percentage of any coach who's ever coached 20 games or whatever it was, 20, but
you know, right?
Yeah. So and again, I'm not one of those, and I used to be, and I'm not now, where it's like fire this. I left New York for a while. I came back, and I've realized that there are other ways to do things, and you can be patient, and you can allow people time to do it. What I think that Callahan is suffering from at this point is sort of the failure to sell this, right? I mean, there's battles at the podium, but not just battles. It's just like, I don't know how I would describe it, Albert, but it's almost like this indifference, or like that it doesn't matter enough for him to go through with the exercise. And Nashville is enviable on a lot of coaches' lists because you can kind of disappear there as a head coach and not have to deal with a lot of stuff. But he is bringing to the forefront these things that would have gone completely and totally unnoticed before.
Right.
I
And
don't know.
here's the thing, though. Here's the other part of it. All right. So if you're really worried about the development of your young quarterback, who on that staff can you make the interim coach?
I know exactly who you could make the interim
His
coach.
dad?
No. No. Someone did text me that. But no, it's obvious. Who is it?
Mike McCarthy? Huh?
No. Who is it? The consummate interim head coach, the number one guy on that team, Bones Fossil.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I forgot he was there. Yeah. Yeah, I guess Bones Fossil would be the guy.
Anyway, I don't know. I think that's
I don't know. I just think like I'm like I understand where you're at with this. I understand where a lot of people are at with this, and that was an embarrassing game. And if you find that the team has quit on the coach, by all means do it. You know what I mean? Because I think it's really hard for any coach to come back from that. If you go in the locker room and the locker room has given up on him, then like you almost have to do it, because no matter how hard it is to make it through with an interim coach and a rookie quarterback and all of that, like there's nothing worse than having a team that's quit on its head coach walking the green mile. That's a bad environment for a young quarterback to be in. And you're right, Bones Fossil probably could bring a new energy to the building, at least for the interim, like for the rest of the year. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how all of this. I just don't know. Like looking at the next 3 months, how you're going to make this better for your young quarterback. You're going to make this better for all the young players that you drafted. With that sort of, and why is it just to get your pound of flesh? Again, if it's toxic in that building, which I'm going to dig around a little bit on that. If it's toxic in that building, I get it. But I think it's really early to be doing that in the year, and I think you are playing with fire.